over 91 million adults over the age of 50 are living with chronic joint pain right now. Think about the daily routine that comes with a number that massive. For the vast majority of us, the morning literally starts with a cup of coffee and a straight sprint to the medicine cabinet. We're reaching for ibuprofen, naproxen, or some prescription anti-inflammatory day in and day out. But honestly, here is the critical part of the story that is largely being left out of the mainstream conversation. Here's the trap we all kind of fall into. Those daily medications, they aren't healing your joints at all. In fact, studies published in the Annals of the Rheumatic Diseases have actually found that long-term NSAID use is directly associated with accelerated cartilage loss in the knee. So what does that actually mean for you? It means that while the pain signal is being artificially blocked, the underlying structural damage is speeding up. You're losing your joint space even faster. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover the joint pain trap inside your joints, the botanical science, the top 7 joint herbs, and finally, the 30-day protocol. Section 1, the joint pain trap. Let's explore exactly why painkillers fail and why mainstream medicine's blunt instruments are fundamentally failing your joints over the long term. Notice the stark contrast in these two approaches. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, your standard NSAIDs, are what we call single-target agents. They basically just block a single enzyme called COX-2 to temporarily stop pain signals. The problem? Long-term, they also block the enzymes that protect your gut. So they destroy your stomach lining and completely fail to stop the actual joint degradation. Botanicals, on the other hand, are highly complex systems. They cool inflammation at the cellular level and actually feed your tissue the exact compounds it needs to rebuild, completely avoiding that systemic toxicity. Section 2. Inside your joints, we really need to look at what's happening to your cartilage after 50 to truly understand why those surface-level painkillers fail. So after 50, it's like this 3-part breakdown happens simultaneously in our joints. First off, the joint lining becomes chronically inflamed, releasing chemical messengers called cytokines that literally begin to attack the cartilage. Second, your body's natural production of collagen type 2 drastically drops. This makes whatever cartilage you have left super thin and brittle. It starts acting less like a nice bouncy sponge and way more like dried out rubber. And third, enzymatic destruction just goes into absolute overdrive. Let's actually define that third step really clearly. Matrix metalloprotease, or MMP. You can think of this enzyme kind of like a biological Pac-Man. When your joint is inflamed, this Pac-Man just goes completely rogue. It aggressively dissolves your healthy cartilage matrix way faster than your aging body can replace it. And those surface-level painkillers we talked about, they do absolutely nothing to stop this destructive Pac-Man from eating away at your joints. Section 3, the botanical science. Now let's bridge into the multi-target activity of specific polyphenols, terpenoids, and alkaloids, and see how they reverse this root cause. To actually stop the damage, we literally have to flip the master switch. It's known as NF-kappa B. Think of NF-kappa B as the master alarm system in a building. When it gets activated, it floods your entire body with inflammatory cytokines. Now, NSAIDs just muffle the siren so you don't hear it as loudly. But make no mistake, the fire is absolutely still burning. Specific botanical compounds, however, directly inhibit NF-kappa B. They actually cut the wire. They turn off the alarm system entirely and stop the flood of inflammation right at the absolute source. Our next targets are chondrocytes. These are basically tiny biological factories that are responsible for actually producing and maintaining your protective cartilage. By using the right botanical complexes, we can stimulate these chondrocyte factories to increase collagen synthesis while simultaneously putting the brakes on that destructive MMP Pac-Man we talked about. The result? The tide finally turns, and your joint matrix actually begins to thicken and repair itself. Section 4, the top 7 joint herbs. We're going to rank and score the 7 most clinically validated herbs for joint pain, scoring each out of a possible 30 points. Coming in at number 7 is Devil's Claw, aptly named for its tiny hook-like fruit. This South African root scores a solid 20 out of 30. It relies on a super interesting compound called harpagicide that naturally inhibits that COX-2 enzyme, much like an NSAID does. But crucially, without damaging your stomach lining. If you're currently locked into taking daily pain relievers, this acts as the absolute perfect first transition herb to safely step away from those synthetics. Number 6 is willow bark. Ancient cultures ancestors actually chewed on this exact bark for joint relief, and honestly, it's nature's original blueprint for aspirin. However, unlike isolated synthetic aspirin that's created in a lab, this whole plant extract contains this incredible symphony of flavonoids and polyphenols. They deliver powerful, longer-lasting pain reduction, entirely without those severe gastrointestinal bleeding risks. Breaking right into the top 5, we have Boswellia serrata, also known historically as frankincense. It scores a very solid 23. It's heavily loaded with a specialized compound called AKBA, which uniquely blocks the 5-LOX enzyme. This is such a crucial mechanism because 5-LOX produces inflammatory molecules that your standard over-the-counter NSAIDs completely miss. Also, Boswellia actively inhibits that cartilage-destroying MMP3 enzyme, which gives it a really high cartilage support score. Number 4 is ginger root, also scoring a 23. You probably literally have this sitting in your kitchen right now, but its medicinal power is vastly underestimated. Ginger acts as a dual COX and LOX inhibitor, and it directly suppresses that NF-kappa B master alarm switch we talked about earlier. But most impressively, the research actually shows it helps keep your delicate chondrocyte cells alive, even under really heavy inflammatory stress. All right, now we hit the heavy hitters. Number 3 is turmeric with piperine, scoring an amazing 27 out of 30. Taking turmeric alone actually doesn't work very well because your liver just clears it out instantly. But adding the black pepper extract, piperine, boosts the curcumin absorption by a staggering 2,000%. In clinical trials, this specific combination actually equaled ibuprofen in pain relief. But get this, with 0 GI side effects, all while actively feeding tissue repair. Our runner-up, with a score of 25, is stinging nettle. This leaf extract does something truly amazing. It actually suppresses cytokine production at the genetic transcription level. What that means is it stops the inflammation before your body even has a chance to fully produce it and feel it. Furthermore, it's loaded with bioavailable boron and silicon, which are 2 highly specific minerals that directly support bone density and your collagen integrity. And this brilliantly illustrates why ashwagandha root is our number 1, scoring an impressive 28 out of 30. You see, chronically high cortisol, your main stress hormone, directly suppresses collagen synthesis and actually accelerates that cartilage-destroying MMP enzyme activity we talked about earlier. Ashwagandha is a powerful adaptogen, clinically proven to drastically lower those cortisol levels, alongside being a potent inhibitor of that inflammatory NF-kappa B master switch. And finally, Section 5, the Daily Restoration Protocol. Now that we understand the science and have our top-ranked herbs, this is where we make all this fascinating information actionable. Quick note before we get into this. This is educational content, not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially if you're currently on medication or managing a health condition. The source has provided a way to combine these top scientific performers into a single, highly effective morning routine designed to reverse root cause joint degradation. Here's the exact recipe for the FoodFixHub Morning Blend. It might not taste exactly like a vanilla latte, but your knees will definitely thank you. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder for your curcumin base, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper to multiply that absorption by 2,000%, 1 teaspoon of ginger to feed chondrocyte survival, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ashwagandha to lower cortisol and suppress inflammation. Mix all of that into a warm liquid with 1 teaspoon of raw honey. The source notes it is absolutely vital that this is taken daily on an empty stomach about 30 minutes before your first meal for maximum cellular uptake. So what should you logically expect on this journey? Well, the clinical timeline shows you'll likely notice less of that sharp morning stiffness within just 3 to 5 days. As we move into the 2 to 3 week mark, you can expect a measurable decrease in your resting joint pain throughout the afternoon. And by day 30, a complete cellular shift occurs within the deep inflammatory environment of the joint itself. Remember, we're talking about real long-term tissue repair here, not just a temporary synthetic fix. So I'm going to leave you with a final question to consider based on all the science we've explored today. Are you content just managing a symptom? Are you finally ready to reverse the root cause? And just to be clear, never, never, and never stop or adjust a prescribed medication without your doctor's guidance. After checking with your doctor, commit to this exact blend every single morning for 30 days, ideally without your NSAID, so we avoid any pharmaceutical interference. Do me a favor and leave a comment below with your starting pain levels right now so we can actively track your progress. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss another validated natural protocol. Your joints are waiting for the right signal, so isn't it time to finally give it to them?